It's a Thursday evening with nothing to do. Well, I have very good news for you. So virtually gather all of your mates for another episode of Gourmet and Grape. Good evening, Molweni, Wynand, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the fourth episode. I am indicating four because fourth is very difficult to pronounce. I am the Melkman and I will be hosting tonight. Just for the first time viewers, I would like to give you a short summary as I did with the previous episode. So what we're trying to achieve here firstly is to have some fun. In order for you to have fun, I would highly recommend you get yourself a very good glass of wine. Other than that, what we're trying to achieve is we would really like to celebrate the cuisine and also the great wines that we have within Stellenbosch area. Great wines, great cuisine. And therefore, we're going to have two guests tonight. The one is going to be a chef and a food expert, and the other one is going to be a winemaker and a wine expert. And we're going to talk a little bit of wine and a little bit of food, maybe some technical stuff, but we're also going to discuss some more obscure topics, which I personally am looking forward to. At this point, I would just like to say, like I said previously, make sure that you have a very nice glass of wine with you. And please join us. We are definitely having some quality wines, so nothing prevents you from doing the same. I would also like to remind you, Mondays to Thursdays from 9 o'clock to 5 o'clock, wine sales are open. So please help yourselves utilize this time slot, Mondays to Thursdays from 9 to 5. Okay, so over to my guests tonight. Both these guests are from Lanzerac. They gave me a little bit of a badge. I don't think you can see it, but anyways, representing tonight. So the first guest that we have, our wine expert, is Wynand. Wynand, you're welcome. Any comments from your side at this point?
Evening, Melkman. Now it's great to be here on a cold winter evening. I'm sitting in front of the fire here at the tasting room, and I'm very excited to show you some excellent wines. We can basically have 3 wines, and looking forward to it, and the food as well.
Perfect, Wynand. I really hope that fire in the background is keeping you warm. I know that you said you're going to put some wood on it, but yeah, hopefully it'll burn a little bit bigger later on. Stephen, you're our next guest. You're very welcome. Any comments from your side at this point? Stephen is then our chef and food or cuisine expert.
Hello, Melkman and Wynand and all the viewers. Thank you very much for having me on the show tonight. I'm looking forward to it and to show you what's in the box.
What's in the box? Talking about the box, I think what you can maybe do is, Stephen, you can start us off. Just start us off with the starter. Indicate to the guest what is in there, where they can get these boxes, and how they can prepare it. So, Stephen, over to you.
Okay, great. Well, first of all, Wynand, thank you very much for the great wine. Really enjoying it. So yes, Lanzerac is doing a box. You can order these from Thursday to Sunday. It's just going to be ordered 24 hours in advance. Now, this is a 4-course meal. You can order this through either the website, online with the restaurants at Lanzerac, or you can call the hotel. I'm just going to run through you everything that I've got inside this box. Let me pull this out. Here I've got a crushed peas. Got some carrots here. So this is a 4-course meal. So I'm just going to break it down. We've got the soup. The soup is going to be an aromatic cauliflower and coconut soup. Your starter is a souffle. I've got this beautiful cheese souffle. And I'm using those lovely cheeses from Delwood. I've got some Huguenot cheese going in there and a bit of Boland. Your main course will be a cottage pie. Now, cottage pie is a little bit different. I'm going to show you how to present it a little bit later. Then on your desserts, I've got a buttermilk cheesecake with lots of little goodies going with it. So when you unpack your box, you'll find lots of little packets and things like that. I'm going to run through everything for you to show you exactly how to put everything together. And the nice thing is you're going to get a little letter from us, which will be a nice kind of way and directions of how to prepare everything. So all together in the box, like I said, the starter, cheese souffle, and this is going to be served with a little side salad. The side salad is a saffron apple, kind of caramelized nuts, and a honey and mustard dressing. I'm going to prepare that first. Then your second course is the soup. The soup is going to get served with a beautiful bread, which is just wrapped in this beautiful packet. I've got a lovely butter. It's a Cape butter with nice Cape flavors. You've got brandy going in there, mustard seeds. You've got some rosemary, a bit of paprika going in there. Then finishing off the soup, I've got the popcorn, which is a chorizo and coconut popcorn. I've also got a dressing, which is just a little bit of a drizzle of coriander. And then I've got a spiced corn ragout. So I'm just going to quickly pop the soufflés in the oven. This will take us roughly 6 minutes in the oven. Very important, preheat your oven, gas max 6. Now the soufflés are ready to go. It's a twice baked soufflé. A little bit of a cheese sauce and parmesan sprinkled on top. This is going to go in the oven for 6 minutes while I prepare the other stuff.
The only comment I have at this point is if any of the viewers were wondering, houflé, soufflé, that's the way you do it. So I also heard that you said something about baking it twice. So I would say it's so nice because you baked it twice. How does that work, Stephen, baking it twice?
So what happens is you aerate the soufflé the first cooking, and then we literally cool it down very rapidly, which then basically traps all the air back into it. The sauce that goes over it, it's a beautiful cheese sauce that will basically coat it. And that stops it from drying out. And also when you warm it up, it almost creates like a cover for it. So then it traps in heat. So again, it steams up and gets to rise up again. So it's a nice way, especially if you want to kind of do a souffle at home and you don't have the time to do it à la minute. This is a nice kind of way of doing it.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Stephen. Wynand, over to you. The wine that we are already having, maybe you can tell the viewers what we are drinking, why you decided to pair it with this specific course, and also it's quite an interesting name, so tell them a little bit about that as well.
Yes, Melkman and Stephen, I'm looking forward to that souffle and the soup. Yeah, we at Lanzerac, we're very proud of our wine. Of course, we've got a long history of our wines, especially stuff like Pinotage, Cabernet, and Chardonnay. Those three basically are our main varieties we work with, or what we're known for. And the Mrs. English, if you look at on my left-hand side of my shoulder, there's a picture of the real Mrs. English. It's actually a previous owner of Lanzerac. And she bought this farm in 1920. And Lanzerac was first known as Skoongezicht, a very, very common Dutch name. And obviously she decided that there were too many Skoongezichts in this area, and she renamed it Lanzerac. So the wine we're drinking is a tribute to her. She was a very formidable lady. She was actually a born South African. Maiden surname was Van Huisteen from Somerset East, and she married Fred English, and she became Mrs. English. And then, and she planted numerous varieties on this farm, and she was she did lots of renovations on the estate. So she was in those times to be owner of a wine farm, and she was a leading lady, as I can say. And you can see in the background, she's got I think she was quite a tough cookie. She was quite stern, I can imagine. And we just thought, we've got a very special vineyard in Lanzerac, a Chardonnay vineyard that's on the highest slopes of the Botmaskop. Normally our Chardonnays is all around the hotel, which is in sand with underneath some clay soils, which tends to give you a lighter style of wine and Chardonnays. But this specific block is a single vineyard, is planted at the back of my house in the mountain, and it's mainly clay, decomposed granite, clay, sandstone. So the result is it gives you very concentrated, smaller berries, and it's a wine that's not necessarily bigger but more complex, and it can handle oak a bit better. So it's a full-on expression of Chardonnay. It's not a shy wine. It's although we sort of brought it back a bit to be still tight with nice acidity. And I think that for me, that acidity is a golden thread. That's part of the reason why it works with a creamy soup or souffle, because it breaks through that cheese or the creaminess of the soup. And it's so it's a wine that we're very proud of. It spends about 12 months in first full and second full French oak, and it's a wine that can last. So it's a wine that you can really hit the high notes only after 3-4 years, I would say. So yeah, cheers. I should have a sip now. I think there's a lot of typical from Lanzerac. There's a lot of citrus, mostly lemon, orange peel on the nose, very citrus driven, and then on the palate, it's quite broad. I think for in the winter, if you have Lanzerac, and first of all our wines are mostly food-driven wine, but this one even more so. It's can stand up to richer foods in the winter, and yeah, why not a lovely, full, mature-bodied Chardonnay? Cheers.
Why not?
This is how the bottle looks. Yeah.
Thank you, Wynand. This is exceptional wine. I have to say, having a beard like this, I would definitely not classify as a skoon gezicht. So that is one thing. Stephen, tell me, you're obviously still waiting for that starter to be ready. I heard a little rumor, we'll talk about Walleskans a little bit later on, but I heard a little rumor that you had the privilege of meeting Prince Charles at a certain point. Now, the equivalent for an Afrikaans guy would be meeting Kurt Darren or Rian Kruiwagen. Can you maybe tell us a little bit more about you meeting Prince Charles? I think it's quite a massive thing, especially you that he is from Wales.
So, I mean, that's even better. But no, with Prince Charles, sure. I was a bit of a lighty back then, and 16 years old, in my first kind of position at a first hotel I was working at, which is the Cardiff Hilton. And it was the opening of the Cardiff Hilton. And it sounds like a bit of a British joke, but there was 3 chefs that got nominated to go and meet in the lineup of this grand opening of the hotel. And the 3 chefs was myself, a Welshman, Irishman, also a Steve, and then Matthew, who was an Englishman. And on the actual day, of course, the Irishman had a few too many drinks, didn't show up for work in the morning. And Matthew just didn't really care. He was too busy with work. So I was the only chef that was involved in this line out. And you can imagine, I'm still kind of young and a bit of a lighty. And I'm kind of in the lineup now, and cameras are on us. And I just see he's going from one person to the next, shaking their hands and moving on. So I'm like, okay, great. It's going to be nice and easy. He gets to me and he stops. And I just freeze. And he turns to me, he says, oh, finally, someone that's kind of must really work in heat, and it must be really hot. And of course, I threw my chef completely under the bus there and just says, well, it's really hot at the moment because there's no extraction. The extraction's not working yet. And here I'm on live TV saying this. And he said, well, you must seriously need a drink after work then. I said, why are you buying? Which luckily he laughed and he kind of went on. And of course, my mother was watching. She wasn't too happy about it. So I said that to the prince. But I did get drinks afterwards, not from him. I never got any drinks from him. But all my colleagues and all the other chefs definitely brought me around afterwards.
The only thing I take from this story, it's massively entertaining, but the only thing I take from the story, and I'm not sure if he's watching tonight, we have quite a broad support base, but Prince Charles, actually, he still owes you a drink. That's the only thing.
He owes me a drink.
Exactly. Stephen, tell me, in terms of minutes remaining on the prep, where are we?
I am good. So I can finish up here?
Okay, cool. Then we are
Okay.
over to you.
So the souffle just needs another minute, but in the meantime, I've just put the soup on the stove. You're just going to put it into a pot and heat it through just to bring to the boil. It's a nice aromatic soup. That coconut comes through really beautifully, and that creamy cauliflower, I think, is going to work really well with that wine. Then you've got this corn ragout. It's a tomato and corn ragout. And again, this heated up in the microwave, 30 seconds in the tub. Once you've heated it up, just pop a spoon into the center. And you're just going to give it a quick stir into your soup to get all those beautiful flavors running through the soup. Finishing off, I got this beautiful coconut and chorizo popcorn. It's going to give a nice crunch, a little bit of spiciness, also a little bit of saltiness going to it. And then lastly, finishing off, you've got a coriander drizzle. It's a nice, simple coriander oil. And all you're going to do is just cut the tip off it and drizzle it into your soup. So that would be your second course. For your starter, just to throw that together, the souffle is going to come out the oven. Just remember, it is going to be quite hot. You pop these onto your platter. Add a little bit of your salad. And again, you got great flavors. You've got pomegranate seeds running through this. Lots of nice herbs. The saffron apples. You've got caramelized nuts. I've got macadamia nuts going in there. And you've also got a nice honey and mustard dressing. And again, you just literally need to cut off the tip of the dressing just so you can drizzle it over. And that would be your starters and your intermediate. Your bread, which will go in the oven the same time as your souffle, would be ready. I'm going to open this up just to show you guys. It'll warm up really nicely. And it's a cheese and herb bread. You'll have that. You've also got your Cape butter to enjoy with your soup. And that would be your starters and your intermediate course.
Yes, that is amazing, Stephen. Thank you very much. And that's the amazing thing about these boxes is that you can have a gourmet style meal at home. It's fairly easy to prepare and you can impress somebody. So if you have a special birthday going on, I'll explain this just now. But if you have a special birthday going on or you want to impress somebody, this is the way to do it. So please order those boxes. So what I have on my face is what I call the baard borstlap. If you translate it into English, it is the beard bib. And that is, if you have a big beard like this, then, and if you like drinking your soup like this, then this is actually a very good way to protect your most valuable asset. So for all the bearded wonders out there, you're welcome. Great. We're over to Wynand again. Wynand, I'm going to take this off. It's a great invention from our side, I have to say. Ooh, I'm struggling to get it off. Wynand, two things. You must please tell us a little bit more about the second wine. I'm going to take it off just now. But you must tell us a little bit more about the second wine that we're having. And then I couldn't help but notice that your name is actually, that's better. Great. Your name, there's quite big similarities between your name and the industry that you are operating within. So if and I'm not the expert on translation, but if I translate your name, so you are Wynand, I would translate it into Wynand, and I would argue that you have a hand in the wine industry. So what I'm trying to figure out is, well, I also heard a little bit of a rumor that you were in the finances business earlier on. So did your name have anything to do with the fact that you ended up in the wine industry? Was it predestined? Did your parents tell you this is the way that you're supposed to go? So tell us about the second wine as well as your own name.
Melkman, yeah, you're putting me on the spot. I must just say that that thing you had on your beard, it looks like a new style face mask. Brilliant. keep it on. Yeah, my name, quite surprising when you ask me that. My friends are still calling me wine tooth. So I don't know about the land, but I think it was probably destiny. I was born in Stellenbosch in the wine country. So I think my dad and my mom and dad had a sort of a idea I will end up, and my dad is a lover of wine. So I think he was hoping and praying I should go in the wine industry. And yes, I took a detour. When you were young, and when I was young, about 200 years ago, we didn't know what to do with your life, and you I was in the army first, but when you arrive at varsity, you sort of study what everybody else is studying. So I went from a BCom agriculture economics to pure BCom, and so I think. It looks a great career from the outset if you're into loads of money and numbers, but it bored me to death. So I took a detour, went back to Elsenburg, and then started studying again. I had some great times there with great mates, and since those days I've just been loving what I'm doing, and I think the numbers help. I think our accountants are happy that we can calculate how much money we're wasting, so it helps a bit, I think. I can just imagine my accountant laughing now, but well, So you asked me about the wine, which is for me again a very important not a flagship. Our flagship is a Pinotage, Pionnier Pinotage, but this is a very strong contender or a smaller brother of our flagship called Le General. And if you look closely over my left-hand shoulder with Mrs. English, there's a General, a French guy. It's General Lanzerac, and that guy was a general in the First World War, and a French general. And his claim to fame is he was very aggressive, and he lost a lot of men on the outset of the war, and he got demoted. And when the French or the Allied forces really was in the bad shape, he was recalled, and he won a critical battle. So he was at the end of the war, he was a hero. And we don't know, but we think him and Mrs. English, of course, at that time, I think Mrs. English was a widow, or I'm not sure, not quite sure the story there, but we've got an inkling she and the general knew each other. And and why did she rename the farm to Lanzerac? So there's a little bit of a scandal, a sort of a story going that maybe she knew this general a bit too good, too much. But anyway, so I think it's a great wine, a name for our wine as well, because this is a true blue Bordeaux blend from the left bank that they call there in the Bordeaux. It's a Cabernet-based Bordeaux blend, and I think coming from Stellenbosch and being a farm from Stellenbosch in the Jonkershoek Valley, Cabernet Sauvignon is a very important wine for us. And it's a wine, this blend is Cabernet Sauvignon, Malbec, Merlot, and Petit Verdot. We've planted some Cabernet Franc, but it's not in production yet. So this wine is very complex. It's got a lot of going on it. It's a typical, I would say, Cabernet, deep Cabernet flavors coming through, dark, broody berries. And usually, I think with us at Lanzerac, in this valley, we've got a lot of clay, like I mentioned, and granite. So our tannin management is quite important. So it's a very much foot off the pedal when we make this wine, not to over extract it, but it's got a depth of flavors and will carry on. Because it's a blend, there's a lot of complexities coming through as you sip this wine. So it's a wine that you need to have in front of a fire. Fire is burning a bit better now, but there's a lot of things like I mean, I've looked at this menu from chef, and I can't pronounce half of the words, but I think that's like the wine is. There's a lot of things coming through that you discover, and it's a journey. I would say if you have this with good company and good food, it will end up really well for you if you have these wines. So, cheers.
That is a promise I'm definitely gonna stick with, and I'll get back to you on that one.
Thanks for the tip.
This is amazing.
Always.
Thank you very much, Wynand. Stephen, I think we are over to you with the mains. If you can maybe just start us off with that while we enjoy this exceptional wine. With this being called the General, I would really like to do that, but I'm not going to do it. Stephen, over to you.
Awesome, thank you. Yeah, so like I mentioned earlier, we're going to do a cottage pie, a little bit different to your kind of traditional cottage pie. Starting off, I'm going to be using some bone marrow, going through into the dish. Now, at Lanzerac, we like to kind of bring these old-fashioned dishes back to life and bring a bit more kind of character to it. So when you get this at home, it's going to be such a nice, simple way of kind of preparing this. I'm going to leave it to you to put a bit of character to it your own way. But you're going to get 3 different bags. You're going to get the bone marrow, you're going to get the cottage pie mix, and then you're going to get the Parmesan potato puree. So the cottage pie mix itself, we're using beautiful short rib, that beef short rib, braised off. I'm using some of that beautiful wine from Lanzerac to get some flavor into it. I've got carrot running through there, parsnips, baby onions, a little bit of garlic, some rosemary and herbs running in there as well. So very flavorsome kind of meat. When you get this, you're going to pop this into a nice oven-proof dish. And all the sauce it's going to be nice and thick. You're going to see now, but that's just because it's set from the fridge as well. But it's going to be beautiful and saucy. Now, the idea of this is basically spread it out, fill your tray up, and leave 2 nice spaces for your bone marrow. Open your bags. Now your bone marrow has been slightly roasted, cleaned and roasted. A little bit of rosemary sprig sticking out of it, a little bit of olive oil drizzled over it. And then try and work your meat going around your bone marrows. Like so. Then we're going to pipe the mash on top. Now the mash comes completely with the Parmesan, some butter running through it. So,
Stephen, that picture looks a little bit like a sad Cookie Monster. You see?
I see now. So when you pipe the mash, just cut the tip of your mash bag off and just very gently work your mash from one side to the other. This will take you a few minutes. I'm gonna leave this.
Yes.
I've done one. I've put one in the oven. This will go into the oven for 5 minutes on 180. Then you're gonna add the rest of your ingredients, which will be the roast carrots. I've got these beautiful baby roast carrots roasted with honey and cumin. Just open the bag into, again, an oven-proof dish. It's got all the butter and everything with it to keep it nice and glossy and shiny. You've also got these crushed peas. And again, simple, open the bag, all the seasoning, everything is in there, the butter is in there. Pop this into an oven-proof container or dish. And then finally, you can't have this without a beautiful onion gravy, which you've got a red onion jus, or as you guys call it, gravy. All that work gone into it, and you guys call it a gravy. Yo. There we go. And then after 5 minutes of this in the oven, you're going to basically pop in your other 3 ingredients for another 5 minutes. After that, you can pull everything out, and there's your main course. I've had one in the oven now, which I put in just after the starter, which I'm going to pull out. and your bone marrow will start melting. You get that kind of fragrant smell of the rosemary. You can see the sauce bubbling away there. And there's your delicious main course.
Stephen, I have to say the Cookie Monster doesn't look that sad anymore. And neither are we. Just quickly, Wynand, I think I was afraid of this, but we're running out of time. But Wynand, the third wine, if you can maybe, it's a very nice name, Afrikaans name. Stephen, just quickly, so this bottle of wine is part of the Keldermeesterversameling at Lanzerac. Can you maybe just tell us the Keldermeesterversameling? Can you give us a Walliskaans version of that?
The Keldermeesterversameling.
That's perfect. Thank you very much. Wynand, over to you.
Melkman, thanks, Stephen. That was very good effort, I must say. Very good effort. I'm proud of you. I just want to mention maybe one thing about because I was asked to ask why we pair these wines with the food, and typically for me, with that bone marrow, the general with its tannin will bite through that fattiness. So it's a good way to digest your food with sips of wine between. But over to this range, if you look at this label, you can almost see nothing, and that's probably the whole point of it. It's a discovery, this wine. If you look closely, you have to you need this wine in your hand to see what's going on here. And this wine is called Kurktrekker. The name comes from a footpath in the Jonkershoek Valley. It connects the first and second waterfalls to the Panorama Trail. And it's a nice play on, of course, Kurktrekker is obviously a corkscrew, so it's a nice double play on the wine. But the Keldermeesterversameling or Stephen Salamaster collection is a artisanal wine, you can say, very limited, and it's about experimentation. It's a new discoveries, new techniques of winemaking. This is the fifth installment or the fifth one in the Keldermeesterversameling is a Cinsault, Alicante Bouschet, and Cabernet Franc blend. And the wine actually is grown. The three varieties is grown together in the same vineyard. So it's farmed and harvested together, and then we ferment the wine. And obviously, if you look at the wine and the color, it's lighter in style. So it's a different way of winemaking to just show people that Lanzerac, or we can do. We're not a one-trick pony. We can do some newer styles of wine as well. So, but I think this is very interesting. There's sort of a muskiness, earthiness, almost mushroom, olive tartar going on here on the nose, and for me, it's just a very exciting wines to drink. Very limited. We sell it obviously from the farm, and not much elsewhere. So I hope you enjoy this wine.
Perfect, Wynand. Thank you very much. I've never heard Afrikaans guy say the term Kurktrekker so English as you just did. Kurktrekker. I'm going to go over to you, Stephen. The dessert, if you can maybe just tell us something about that. We are already over time, but let's carry on for a little bit. So tell us a little bit more about the dessert and how we can prepare that.
Okay, with the dessert, you'll basically get a beautiful baked buttermilk cheesecake. You'll get a white chocolate mousse, and you get a little jar filled with these beautiful little macaroons that everyone loves at home, which is a rose and chocolate macaroon. Then finishing off, I've got this homemade berry compote. Just bring a nice kind of acidity, tart flavor to that cheesecake. Just pop some on. And that would be your dessert. So again, simply prepared at home. 3 little ingredients to make it kind of your own kind of version of it. Then to finish off after dessert, we've got these beautiful chocolates, which little bonbons of chocolates, which we do with It's Valrhona chocolates, and we got these TWG tea, just to kind of round off the whole meal and the whole experience. And you guys must enjoy. I've sent you guys each a box, so you can each try it. Hopefully you can follow my directions. If not, they're written down, so please go ahead. For you in Afrikaans, of course, Wynand.
Thank you.
Great, Trekker. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Okay, Trekker. Are you happy now?
I'm more than happy. Just one thing, Stephen, you said something about a jus earlier on, which we apparently call a gravy. The only reason they called it a jus is because jus, it's lekker. Anyway. Okay, guys, I think that's it for this evening. I'm going to ask you both for one last comment. So Wynand, anything from your side to end it off with?
Yeah, just to say thank you. It was great sharing some of our passion and the stories of the wines. Obviously, we open now again for sales. We had a great harvest in 2020, and yeah, guys, we'll get through all this COVID nonsense, and hope to see everybody back at Lanzerac and humming again. Cheers.
Yes, perfect. Thank you very much, Wynand. Stephen, from your side, any final comments?
From my side, the deli is now open, so all you guys, all the locals, please pop in, visit your local deli. We've got a full-on menu coming back on Monday. Over the weekend, we've got breakfast offerings available as well. The packs are change weekly. So this week, we've got the shepherd's pie. Next week, a little bit of a sneak. We've got a pork belly dish coming, done with a honey and roast honey and clementine. Dessert will be this kind of sticky kind of chocolate pudding. So, and it will change weekly. So that's still available, even though we will be kind of fully operational there at the deli. But Steve, thank you so much for
one last comment. Sorry.
Yeah.
Remind them how they can order again. Sorry.
So ordering, you can order through the website or email through restaurants at Lanzerac.co.za. Otherwise, you can just call one of the restaurants at the Lanzerac, either the deli or the main restaurant, and we can take your order directly.
Perfect. Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, that is our show for tonight. I thank you for joining us. It was a great time. If you obviously have some special occasion, this is a great way to actually spoil a certain person within that special occasion. I think we've all had our braais, but this is a very nice way to show that you care. And the wines that is paired with that is obviously also exceptional. Thank you very much. Have a great evening, and remember to buy your wines from 9 to 5, Monday to Thursday. See you some other time. Cheers.
Cheers.
Cheers.